of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We normally would go right into our difference maker spotlight. We're gonna move that back just a little bit, I think. I got a thumbs up from back there in the back. Do we need to approve the agenda? You guys had a chance to look at that? Okay. Need a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
So moved. First by Mary, second. All those in favor, 7-0. All right. We do not have anything for, gonna do that? Okay, LEA update, we'll go right to that.
My Boswell friends.
Yes, Boswell friends are here. Yeah, the stars. Are they gonna come up?
All right, look at
the experts.
You brought the best and brightest with you, it looks like.
Relax. Am I in control of this? You are, yes. Where's my clicker? I can give you. Okay. My name is Jennifer Ellis. I am proud teacher of the Boswell Life Skills Special Education. Here's a picture of my class.
Hi, I'm Hannah Hallett. I'm a special education teacher at Boswell too. Here is me with my students and my para.
And here are our experts, and there's a little bit about what they're each going to talk about. I'm just going to let them introduce themselves. So Kaylee.
Hello, my name is Kaylee Shoemaker. I am in 4th grade at Boswell Elementary. I participate in Boswell Little Theater as a part of Jacket Swarm after school each day. My favorite parts about Jacket Swarm is getting to do fun activity after school where I can move around. I also like that I get to be on stage with my friends. We have been working hard on our musical this semester, Elf Junior. I want to invite you all to come see a sneak peek. Come see us on December 19th at 6 p.m.
Oh.
What I am. Hi, I'm Hayden Lee, a 4th grader in Mrs. Mitchell's class. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you a little about our learning at Boswell. Jacket time is a time each day in math and reading when we leave our classroom and go with other students and other teachers and learn with them. We can get extra help or extra challenges if we need it. We learn at our own level. In Jacket time class, I go with Miss Hazelwood in the library for reading and Mr. Hunter for math. Recently, we worked on multiplication of 2-digit by 2-digit numbers. In my reading class with Miss Mitchell, we have key skills. This has all of our learning targets on it. This helps us know which level we're at and what we're learning. Miss Mitchell has it up in our classroom and talks about it to us so we know what we're learning about.
Good.
Hi, I'm Eric Green. I'm a 4th grader in Miss Mitchell's room, and I've been going down to see Miss Bailey from my Jacket time class, and I've been doing task cards.
Hello, Board of Education, and thank you for having me. My name is Jayla Burley, and I am a fourth grader in Miss Rugel's class. I have come tonight to talk to you about iReady and how we use it at Boswell to show our learning and growth. I'm going to show you my middle of the year iReady map diagnostic. I need 10 points. That is 43% of my goal for this year. Mr. McCowan, I have a copy for you in the board.
Outstanding.
Oh, he's looking at this right now. I'm gonna show, talk about.
So, wait, let me do the rest of this one.
Anything you want? Wanna give it a right here? Make sure that-
Okay, so, this year on my first diagnostic, I got a third grade number on my numbers and operations. And I got, on my algebra thinking, I got early fourth grade. And on measurement and data, I got mid fourth grade. And on geometry, I got a grade 3. And this diagnostic that I just took a couple days ago, I got all fourth grade. I got all fourth grade, and that was our goal for this test. And as you can see, I already said I did good on my diagnostic, and I am going to be above the chart by end of the year if I keep doing as good as I am now. On my first iReady test, I had 2 domains at a third grade level, and now all my domains are at fourth grade level all the way. Thank you for listening and being here tonight. Do you have any questions for me?
No, but outstanding.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. That is great work.
And go Chiefs.
We work like the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Jacob Wood. I'm a fifth grader at Boswell Elementary. I'm going to tell you about proficiency skills. It tracks where you are at the subject at that time. It also shows where you should be or a goal to reach. If you are above that goal, you can think you can do that at a higher level. You may pass it in my folder and thank you.
Thanks, Jayla.
Good job, Faith.
Good evening, Board of Education. My name is Caroline Brown, and I'm a fifth grader at Boswell Elementary. My teachers are Miss Hudson, Miss Knight, and Miss Helen. What I want you to know about Boswell is that I love my teachers and I have great principals. I like the new library and the STEM lab because they are fun. Boswell has good food. The cafeteria does not make raw food.
That is really good.
They keep us safe. Tonight, we want you to hear what We Are Boswell is all about.
at page 40. This is where we report on internal controls. I do want to mention that it says during our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we would consider to be material weaknesses. So that is a very good thing to report right there. We'll skip over to another report, page 42. As I mentioned, our work is 3 broad areas. This is the second area that I mentioned, which is the single audit or the audit of federal programs. And this is our report on that. And I will direct you to the second paragraph here. This is where we issue our opinion on this audit. And in our opinion, the district complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements that could have a direct and material effect on each of its major federal programs. So again, this is a clean opinion, nothing to report there. Skip over just a couple pages over to page 45. This is more just for informational purposes. I always like to point out these next 2 pages are the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So this will give you an idea of how much federal money ultimately makes its way to the district. And on page 46 at the bottom, you'll see that for 2024, there's about $8.8 million of federal money that the district spent. Next, we'll go over to page 48. This is our schedule of findings and question costs as part of this audit, the single audit of the federal programs. I'll draw your attention to the federal awards section right in the middle. I'm pleased to report that there were no material weaknesses identified, no significant deficiencies over internal control. Our report was unmodified, which is the best you can get. And you'll see there were no audit findings that were required to be disclosed regarding your federal programs. And then you'll see right below that, in case you're curious, there were 3 federal programs that we audited this past year: the Special Education Cluster, the Title I grants, and the COVID fiscal recovery funds. And these will change every year of which federal programs we look at.
Are those just like randomly selected every
Yeah.
year, or is there some sort of schedule you're on?
It's not random. We have to go through a risk assessment process. And so as part of that, if a program is large, so there's a lot of dollars involved, that could cause it to be selected. Or if it hasn't been audited in a few years, then it has to be audited. So there's a whole step-by-step process that we go through to select these. And then beyond that, we have to test at least 40% of the total expenditures. So even if we only identify a couple of programs that we would have to audit, but that doesn't meet the 40%, then we have to pick another one.
Sure.
So
That makes sense, thank you.
Then we'll go to page 51. This is the third section of the work that we did. This is the examination on the district's compliance with Missouri laws and regulations. The second paragraph from the bottom, pleased to report, in our opinion, the district complied in all material respects with the requirements mentioned above. So again, no findings there. So that was it in terms of the bound report. Now I'll go over the 2 letters that I provided. The first is the letter that has number 1 and cybersecurity on it. This is the management letter. This is where we give our recommendations every year. And I will point out that the 2 that we provided the district this year are the same 2 that we've given all of our clients this year. So there's really nothing unusual to report here. The first, this is just more of a reminder than anything, just to keep an eye on cybersecurity, be aware of internal controls related to cybersecurity, particularly if it involves banking or the disbursement of monies like wire transfers, ACH withdrawals, that kind of thing. So just to be aware of the district's controls over that. And the second is anytime there are new accounting standards, We always mention the ones that are coming up that will be implemented in the years to come. And as always, we encourage the district to reach out to our firm to talk about how to implement these as you go forward. And lastly, I'll go over the second letter that is at your table there. And this we call the governance letter. As part of government auditing standards, we're required to communicate certain items to the governing body. And this letter contains those elements. There's only two I want to point out, but I think they're important. One is there's in italics, difficulties encountered in performing the audit. We are pleased to report that there were no significant difficulties in dealing with management, so that is very good. And then the second one, similar to that, disagreements with management. For the audit, we had no disagreements with management related to financial accounting, reporting, or auditing matters. So also very good to report. With that, I do want to thank you for your time. I do also want to thank Dr. Schmitz and Mr. Dameron and their team. We do a lot of work with the audit, but we also know that they do a lot of work and their staff does a lot of work to prepare for it. So we definitely appreciate all their efforts.
Thank you. All right, probably at this point, we could go to our motion to approve this. Oh, yes. Sorry. Motion to approve the fiscal year 2023-24 audit report and the fiscal year 23-24 annual secretary and board.
I'll make the motion.
First by Mary, second by Nicole, all those in favor? All right, 7-0. Now we want to move that. And he is.
So they,
Yeah.
Did you say difference?
I think we're ready.
All right, that brings us to our difference maker spotlight, and there she is. Miss Lindsay Bailey.
All right, and we're gonna play a little video for me. Get to watch. So it's my pleasure to present to you Coach Lindsay Bailey, and I have to share a story that really, if you watch the video where we honored her at the high school for being a difference maker, it just really, and you see it in the video, you pay attention to people, and we're in the human business, and it's so clear that she is about people. I mean, you even said it, you're there for the kids. And there's a young person who she paid attention to, had something that she just took a hunch, that something just didn't look right in their body posture. Made a suggestion, the student followed up, and it really made a difference. And that's one kid whose physical life is probably going to be different forever because of your impact. And so I just wanted to give you a chance to say something to the board if you want to, but I also just want to just present you with this, and I can't say any more than what was on the video. That's pretty great, so congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I do want to say thank you. This is a great place to be, period. There's good, bad, and ugly anywhere you go, but the more I see good. So I just am thankful to be here. We got a whole bunch of kids in the room, so I think that's great. And y'all are all still kids too, everybody's young. But truthfully, I couldn't be here if people didn't take a chance on me. I'm not a traditional, I didn't take the traditional route, so I'm very thankful for it. And I also could not pour into the students if the coaches before me didn't lay the groundwork. I don't have to build a program, the program was already built. So I'm able just to drip in my portion. So thank you, everybody else. Added a nice job up there. And I'm sweaty again, so.
Can you introduce everybody?
Yeah, this is my husband Chance. This is Willow, Strap. Raise your hand, Strap, so they know who you are. Holland, Jubal, Creed. Raise your hand. Talon. Adley, I see you. And Chase.
All right, well, welcome. We would love to get a picture with everybody that you'd like.
You guys want to come over here?
And so we'll have you go over this way and we'll take a picture of the whole crew and the board will wrap around.
Get everybody surrounding you.
That may go be off.
Can you stand in front of me?
True.
It's a good looking bunch.
It's a big picture.
All right, keep it in just a little. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good job. Perfect.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations.
You never trust the after roll.
I know, never trust it.
Never trust it.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to our Branco guys, LHS early demonstration package, Branco GMP, #1.
You guys keep making me follow all these cool people.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot to say. Keep asking for money after you guys. No, we had a pretty good turnout. 2 contractors did the project. One at the very last second pulled out, so we were gonna have 3. But all that to be said, we were under budget by $8,000 for that trade package. So I'm ready to get started.
Good.
We plan on starting on the 23rd. If you guys approve us to go forward. So, any questions about, you guys have seen this now 3 or 4 different times, so nothing's changed in that regard. Value obviously has changed.
So this is all the demo in Crestview.
I'm not gonna say what
Oh,
that
it's kind
is.
of a
but-
Yeah, so it'll be to separate Crestview from the existing building that's gonna remain and seal it up. And then when that's done, they'll knock down the 2 remaining houses on the other side of Rice Street. That's what this package includes.
Okay.
So So our goal is to have that all away from the building and whatever's left that we can't haul off before the kids get back, but have it away from the building by the 3rd, the way it's not impacting students. That's the ultimate goal there. And then during school, when they come back, we'll be hauling stuff out and then jump over across the street to knock those 2 houses down. So that'll all be done before the 18th of March, so we can start hitting the ground running for high school.
That's almost starting.
Yeah.
Progress.
Any questions from the group? All right,
Make that motion.
make a motion to approve the high school early demolition package, Renko, with the gross maximum price of $465,359. Motion. First by Mary, second by Nicole, all those in favor? 7-0.
Thank y'all again, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, brings us to SAP Architect contract amendments. Is that Christie? Or Mr. Dan? So, yeah, okay,
Christie's here for questions.
okay, gotcha. All right.
You said, Dan, you're not gonna stand?
Yeah, thanks. You grab my back there.
So our original contract with SAP, with the bond project was approved back in February 13th. So that included the construction of Lebanon High School, Barstow Elementary, Maple Crest, and innovative programming throughout the district. So since that time, we've added some additional work for SAP. So that's what these amendments are. They're amendments to the original contract. So amendment number 1 is for the activities master plan that we had to move forward on. That is for us to have an actual plan for activities over the next several years, items that we need district-wide so that we can plan for them and budget for them appropriately. So this amendment is not to exceed $25,000, and we'll be paying for that out of just the general fund, not bond funds. So that is amendment number 1. Amendment number 2 is for the architectural services for the work we're going to do at the Student Success Center, Center for Student Success. And it will be 7.5% of the actual construction cost. So we have not had you officially approve the budget for that yet, but when you do, they have to do the design work first so that we can put it out for bid for construction. So once we do get that total construction cost, it'll be 7.5% of that actual construction cost is what their fee will be. We've currently estimated at $2 million, which would make it $150,000. But that will change based on what the actual costs are. So that will be funded by bond funds, the amount that we have allocated for the high school. In the work that we did for the high school, there was a lot of electrical changes that we had to work through, not just for this phase, but for future phases, so we could plan appropriately and make sure that we had all the electrical work ready to go. So this amendment would be a lump sum fee of $18,000. So that is for them to provide the master plan for the electrical for the high school. And that will also come out of bond funds. Amendment 4 is for us, the district, to take possession of Bryce Street. This would be between Jacket Junction and then the eastern edge of our property line, which is basically that drive that goes on the east side of Donnelly. So that strip of Bryce Street, the district will take ownership of. We already own the strip that goes through the parking lot on the west side there. So we'll own Bryce Street all the way over to the end of Donnelly. And that will allow us to flow between where the Bryce Street houses used to be. They'll all be one under the district's control. And then amendment number 5 would be to consolidate all those multiple parcels of land that we have now. As we bought those houses one by one, this would combine all those under just one parcel, so they'll all show Lebanon School District. And the work for that would be $17,400 and would also come out of the high school bond fund. So any questions on those amendments to the SAP contract?
I have a question on amendment 2.
Okay.
it says in here that work consists of interior renovation of approximately 6,000 to 7,000 square feet to create a culinary teaching kitchen and event space. Kind of a two-part here. One, like a yes vote on this, does that mean we are saying we're going with the culinary kitchen? Or is that still?
It's just the work that they have to design it out for us to show you what the options are. So it's not tying you
It's just
into it,
part of the design.
but they have to do the design work to show us what's possible, I guess. And then, but you aren't approving any construction work with this. It's just the work that they're doing for the design.
So what about the academies? Like, I don't, on this drawing that's on that amendment too, I'm not really sure where the academy is, like, talk about the business academy, the medical academy, where is that gonna be all on this too? Cause I thought where the event space was part of the academy.
You're absolutely right. It's been a little bit of a moving target, and we wanted to get something locked in for you guys so that we could proceed with the documents. But honestly, the name is not the full description of it. So we are pursuing the academy in this work. We will have a design for that in this work here.
So it's not gonna be an event space.
It is not intended to be an event space at this time. There was earlier discussions about that, but at this time, it's going to be more of a multi-purpose classroom space.
Okay, so
If that makes sense.
the drawings will have the academy stuff, they won't have the event space.
So it's kind of,
Okay, so a yes vote is, this is just for staff to draw,
To
design
design.
it, okay.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
In the drawing, I see what you're saying, but the drawings, the latest drawings you've seen that
Don't look
from
like
really don't look
anything.
like that at all,
Yeah.
right, right.
So I was
So that's-
confused on,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because it
Where we
continues to
going.
change, so,
Yeah.
so this is kind of a spot in time, but whatever work, they'll design it all out for us, and we'll pay them 7.5% of whatever the construction costs are for whatever it is that you approve. So
gotcha.
it probably won't be an event space, it'll be academies, but we'll present that to you, we'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll present a construction budget for that.
And then we'll approve what will go in those spaces.
Correct.
And is that when, do we have like a timeline, kind of?
You're actually
Put you on the spot.
he's gonna include some of the timeline for phases 2, 3, and 4,
Will be
in
January.
presented in January.
Yes,
Because they're not designed out, I mean, they're
Right,
still stakeholder input.
right.
yes.
I didn't know if we were gonna kind of see them in January or,
You'll see quite a bit in January.
okay,
So, yeah.
thank you.
Is it possible to change the wording to reflect the academies in that instead of just the culinary kitchen and the event space? If we're not doing an event space, can we just?
Yeah.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but.
Yeah,
Just
we could,
crossing our Ts and dotting our Is here.
I see Christie nodding her head back there,
So- yeah, so what we'll do is we'll pull amendment number 2 out of this. And then we'll reword it, bring it to you in January for approval with a better description. That'd be better.
That will hold you up, any, Christie, on what you need to get
We
done.
trust you and know where you live.
You just don't wanna hold anything up
Yeah.
just by semantics.
So is there a part of this that gets fleshed out with what happens if culinary and academies move to the center than what the vacant space at the high school looks like? Because I feel like maybe in November we talked about that as well, but we haven't heard anything about that. And so where does that fit in, I
That'll
guess?
probably be a separate amendment for whatever work that they do for that. But that'll be part of it. So when we get this settled, then we'll figure out what we're gonna do in the high school, whatever's freed up there.
Oh, so we won't have that before we vote to with culinary and all that stuff, we won't have a rough game plan of what we're gonna do with the empty space at the high school.
Is it one step at a time,
It's-
Grasshopper?
We're really working it all at one time.
Okay,
Staff is good to work ahead before we even get this approved. So they're working with us to show us what the options are.
okay.
And then, so we'll have all that.
We're just kind of giving
sometime.
them
Yes.
the okay to move ahead and start working out the plans, and then we'll vote on stuff.
Right.
But this is not a commitment to $2 million at the Center for a Culinary Teaching Kitchen and Event Space.
That is not.
I'm getting worried we're getting
Yeah,
painted
that
in
is
the corner here.
No, that's not that.
That is absolutely not.
But we've got to be able to get some ideas of what everything would look like, and then we'll go from there, right?
Yeah.
This is just for them to design it out,
That
so we
makes
can
sense.
see what's available, what the options are. And then whatever we approve, their compensation will be 7.5% of that.
So we show up in January and say, we would like a 3-ring circus built at the center, please, SAP. And they flesh out a 3-ring circus for us, and we pay them 7.5% of whatever the 3-ring circus is.
Correct.
One thing, just to be clear,
I don't want
We're not
to.
going to that.
the board
I'm
directed,
just using that as an
Yeah.
example. If we go a different direction or
Yes.
say we want this but not that,
Right,
then,
for that work that we're going to do out there, yes.
okay. So really, this shouldn't specify anything besides just space at the innovative
center.
learning space at the center.
Correct.
Because that's kind of what the bond language read, didn't it?
so Dr. Wilkerson and Dr. Oakman presented a couple of different times to the board. In those phases 2, 3, 4, that's what's getting designed out. There's not adequate design done to really share with you here today. And we continue to work later in the week, even we've got some meetings. And the intent is for you to be able to see something in January. But it won't be a 3-ring circus, and it's not just gonna be a culinary. The language in that, I agree, needs to be updated. It's really the work in the innovative learning spaces as presented to the board previously, nothing different than what was talked about already.
So we'll pull that amendment 2 out. We will not have you approve it tonight. So the recommendation would be to approve 1, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
I have a question about number 1, which is the master plan for athletic facilities and grounds. So I know this was like a hot and heavy discussion like last spring, early summer, I think. And Coach Christian got a committee together and there were some meetings, and then I can't remember that we've heard much about it since then, and then now this. And did we take action at some point to sort of enlist SAP to do a master plan for this? Or and maybe I'm wrong, correct me. I just remembered it was going to be mostly the committee and the athletic department kind of working on a master plan, and we were going to consult with SAP for a few hours, maybe here and there, and just pay them hourly. And it seems like it sort of ballooned into a $25,000 project, and I'm not sure how we got from there to here, and I may have missed something along the way.
Okay. So we kind of had your approval to move forward with the master plan, which SAP was going to create. They did work with the coaches and with Coach Christian to get input from all the different stakeholders, and then they're putting together that master plan, which we have not presented to you yet, but this is for the work that they're doing for that.
Didn't we talk about how we wanted it to take the formal route of having a master plan so that there would be something in place, a plan, something concrete, and that we needed SAP to take it to that level?
Yeah.
We discussed
The
that
steps we
over.
took was, we had meetings where from all the different stakeholders, everybody looked at all the options, brainstormed, and then categorized what they thought was the most important, the least important.
And we talked
And then
about
we
it
just-
from the beginning, we
Right,
told we would turn it
right.
over to SAP so that it
And
would
then
be,
SAP's gonna work.
so that we would treat it like we have treated our building plans.
Ultimately,
One step
so
at a
that
time.
you as a board have say in what is and what is not a priority. You know, so there are a myriad of needs, and they were presented at that group. And I think there were board members involved in that. And so where we are right now is simply a matter of capacity. SAP has been doing a lot of work for us since that April issue, and this is one of the many. And so we had a recent update just in the past week, and so got some more information. But and again, an upcoming further, as we get more stakeholder input from that, there'll be another really formal presentation to you on this. But this is simply really compensating SAP for the work that they were asked to do, and then the board directed us to do that.
And to take it to a different level.
Correct.
When can we anticipate that update?
We were shooting for January and maybe February, just because of all the things that are going on right now. But it's close.
Okay.
We met with them just recently and gave them some final feedback, so I think they're very close on that.
So Adam, we're looking for a motion
I have one more question. I'm not meaning to be a troll, but this document doesn't say anything about not to exceed $25,000. Am I missing that somewhere?
It was hourly cost plus expenses, but I think it was 25,000 what we agreed upon. I don't know if it's in there or not, but that was the amount that we were going to cap it at.
Does that amount need to be in this document before we approve it?
It can be, we can pull it out and have it revised and bring it back in January to get that wording correct.
It is formally documented on your invoice, so it's not to exceed 25,000.
Yeah, we do have the invoice for it that clearly states that it won't exceed 25,000. It's not in here, but they billed us for that correctly. So we can bring it back in January with the exact wording.
When we do that, yeah.
So, okay.
So now, at this point, we will try to make a motion to approve
One of them.
contract
At
amendments
least
1, 3, 4, 5,
3, 4, and 5.
3, 4, and
We'll
5.
bring back 1 and 2 in January.
Okay. So we're not doing 1 now?
Right.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve contract amendments 3, 4, and 5 for staff architects as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
First by
second it.
Nicole, second by Mary. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay. All right. Property liability and workers' comp renewal. Are you two, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
we're working you a little bit, buddy.
Get tired of hearing from me. Okay.
Get your steps in.
So this is the renewal we have with Music. I told you a little bit about it last month. We didn't have the invoice yet, but we knew that there was going to be an increase. So Music covers they provide our property, liability, work comp, and cyber insurance. So when we received the renewal, we were looking at, in total, it's about a 25.8% increase, which is a lot. But that's where we're at. There were a number of factors that the majority of it had to do with the weather-related claims that they had last spring. They used to provide a membership credit that was between 8 and 10%, and they've done away with that. The good news is that our work comp mod decreased from 0.85 to 0.79. So although the rate for our work comp went up, our factor, kept it fairly low. So we also have purchased in the past an umbrella policy to provide another $5 million for liability. We don't have the cost for that yet. Music will provide that in January, so hopefully we'll have it in time for the January board meeting for you to look at. So right now, we're just having you provide to approve the actual renewal, which would be for the amount of $1,108,141.
And Adam, refresh our memory. I know even though this has had a big increase, it's still the best insurance around that's it. It covers what we needed to cover, even though it's increased, it's still our best.
Music has about 90% of the state's public schools covered, so it's a huge group, so they get the best rate.
Spread the risk.
It just everything's going up.
Okay.
So we did contact another insurance company that Springfield uses, and they said they could not compete with Music, so.
What has it been in the years past, the increase? Like, what is it, what do you guys budget for? Like, what's the average?
We had budgeted between 3.5% and 5%.
And that kind of hit the mark
Yes.
the last few years on that.
Up until last year. Last year was the first big increase we received.
Everything changed this last year.
Yes, because the claims went up, we did add additional square footage when we added Boswell and when we built in the Early Childhood Center. But just the rates went up for the first time. I think they said it's the first rate increase they'd actually seen in 20 years that the Music had actually issued.
Okay.
So, but this is now the second year in a row that they've had a big increase.
It's substantial catastrophic issues, the buildings across the whole state. It's pretty substantial, and so it's inevitable, and we just hope this is the last year for that.
And all the deductibles and everything on our end, we just kept the same.
Right.
Just the same coverages that we've always had.
All right, we're looking for a motion to approve our insurance renewal with Music.
I'll do that.
First by Mary, second by Nicole, we're staying with that theme. All those in favor? 7-0, okay. Item 2. All right, Dr. Shoggy.
Good evening. We are going to speak about early graduates. If you saw our numbers, they've changed because this is hot off the press actually from today. So our current year early grads are 119, and you usually see this in consent, but it has almost doubled. So we're going to dig into the data a little bit with you guys tonight. So 109 students are graduating one semester early. 7 students are graduating 1 year early, and 3 are graduating more than 1 year early. So LHS represents 79% of our early graduates, and Hillcrest represents 21% of our early graduates. 36% of these students were considered at risk. 24% of students engaged in Missouri options, 16.5 have an IEP, and 12% have worked with a CSI, a coordinator of site interventions. 27% earned credit in summer school, and although our launch numbers did not explode in summer, it did significantly increase throughout the year. We have more students taking launch classes throughout the year. You'll see that with our finances too. That number has significantly increased this year. So what does that mean? They're able to earn more credits, thus having more early graduates. 49%, 49 students, not percent, had a market value asset. And why this is important is because we have the commitment that every student will graduate with a clear plan for their future. So we want that number to be every student. And as we've talked about, in an upcoming graduation cohort, that will be an expectation that every student engages in one. And as we look at these numbers, this will be something that our team will be bringing to you to discuss further. So key considerations for the future, our average daily attendance has been impacted by this because we did not know we need a better plan for the future that 100+ students would be graduating early at semester. So as we look at our early graduation policy right now, it just says that they have to meet with a counselor, have 26.5 credits. Dr. O'Quinn give the approval and they can graduate. So we would like to tweak that in the coming months to discuss a potential deadline so that we can plan financially for what that could look like. We certainly want students to graduate if they have a clear plan for their future and that's the best situation for them, but we also need some good protocols to plan financially as well. And we're also going to look at our graduation requirements. Again, we've talked about market value assets a lot, but we'd also like to consider the number of credits as we have a block schedule that students are engaging in order to graduate. So what questions do you have for our team?
Will they come back and walk in May, some of them?
Yep, most of them.
Most of them, yeah.
So why do we think that it like more than doubled? I mean, that's just kind of a.
Sure, cohorts moving through that have started to move through the block schedule. And so adding that,
they're like, hey, I could.
the opportunities during summer school to do
you.
credit acquisition.
Wow.
So it's kind of a compounding effect.
Snuck up on us. Yeah. Good. All right, motion to approve the early senior graduation list as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
First
it.
by Nicole and seconded by Mary. All those in favor?
It's the little things.
All right. Brings us to information items, our bond sale presentation. Joe Kinder.
All right. Well, hello. Good to see you all again. I think I've said this before, but thanks for coming with me on my journey to a new firm. We're excited about that and excited about the opportunity to continue working with you all. We're here to talk just about informationally on what's going on with that remaining portion of your authorization that we held back on, and just give you some updates to what to expect after the first of the year so that we're not having this discussion for the first time asking you to authorize a bond sale moving forward. So you've got $11,295,000 worth of par or principal amount of bonds that you still have to authorize and issue. And the plan would be from a long-range planning perspective is to be back in January with a resolution authorizing the sale, but not actually have final rates for you. And the reason why we want to do that is we want to close these bonds after the 1st of March. And in order to do that, we want to price that in February. All that does is, from a long-range perspective, is make your cash flows look better to fit in any additional no tax rate increase bond issues you might want to do in the future. So the hope would be that having an additional year, which is what the March 2nd date gets us, is another year on to add on to how you're borrowing your money. And that would allow you then, hopefully, that freedom and flexibility to come back a little sooner. You know, we've talked about from that 2024 issue in that 5 to 7 year window, doing a $25 to $30 million type bond issue again here very soon. And that helps us with that. So we want to make sure that when we're structuring these bonds, if we have the opportunity, that we want to make sure that we leave room for that no tax rate increase bond issue. You know, that is the lifeblood of schools in Missouri, and freeing up those cash flows within each individual year frees up revenue for us to put in those future years towards your bond payments. So we would come in January with a resolution authorizing us to move forward under what's called a parameters resolution, and you all have done that before, but that just allows us to execute on your bond sale at the earliest moment that we think investors would accept that. And so if we're looking to close after March 2nd, it used to be that we could come to you in January and say, we'll close this deal on March 2nd and have final rates for you. With some of the volatility that's happened since COVID, investors are asking for us, once they commit to buying our bonds or your bonds, that they have less than 30 days before those close. And otherwise, they make you pay a little bit of a price for that. So I don't see any need or any reason to rush into that in January. In fact, I think some of the scuttlebutt that we're hearing, or some of the rumors that we're hearing, is that there's going to be a push in the new administration that will take over in January federally to try to reduce interest rates and try to pull back down some of those overnight borrowing rates that you hear about when the Fed meets, and what are they going to do with the overnight rate? What does that mean for you all? It's not a huge impact, but if those commitments are made, the money decisions that are being made on the backside of that by investors who are buying your bonds will oftentimes want to follow those rates down because they're making those decisions based on what the Fed is doing. And so we've already seen that, really. We kind of had a little bit of market disruption for about a week after the election, maybe 2. That's pretty typical, where people are just kind of sitting on their hands. So there wasn't really a rise in interest rates. It was just kind of a lack of trades, lack of actually information and data for us. And when that happens, it's only people, you don't need to hear all this, looking for liquidity that need to sell bonds. And so when they're selling bonds, they're selling them at a cheap price just to try to get out of that position. Since then, we've really seen rates come down. And after the 1st of the year, we think that will continue, or at least there's the potential that that will continue. And the other thing that we have, the other advantage we have at the beginning of the year, is that as we look at how investors behave toward the end of the year, if they're worried about upcoming years, they will kind of reduce the amount of capital they'll commit towards things like bonds. But once the 1st of the year hits, and it's a brand new year for those folks, they're really interested in buying bonds, and Missouri bonds have been very strong in terms of how we compare to other states across the marketplace. So exciting times, interesting times, but we think that positions you really well. The one thing I wanted to talk to you about today is that bond premium. I know you've got a lot of projects. You've got that Center for Student Success that you'd like to finish out as well and do some exciting things with that, along with all the other projects that you're doing, the big projects at the high school. And so we're going to look at doing some premium bonds for you all to try to access a little bit more capital. So back up to the 41 million. That 41 million that we voted was really up to your state constitutional capacity. That is the capacity for your ability to borrow money within a given year from your voter, or get an authorization to borrow money from your voters within a given year. The state caps that at 15% of your assessed value. So the 41 million was really right up to your body capacity. So we got as much as we could under state law. One of the things that we can do to extend that a little bit and get some more additional monies for you to do construction projects with is to use what's called premium bonds. And I think you've heard me tell this story before, but our job is to break your bonds up into $5,000 increments and sell those off to the people willing to pay the highest price, which for you all means the lowest yield or the lowest interest costs. We want to reduce investors' return on their investment over time. We cannot control how they buy their bonds. That is individual behavior within investors. Our job is just to find people willing to pay that highest price. When we talk about premium bonds, we're talking about looking over here at yield. What you can control, though, is the stated rate of interest you agree to pay on those bonds. So if the yields are 3.7% and we agree to pay 5%, what happens then as a board is you get more additional dollars up front that go into your capital projects fund to actually spend on buildings. So you pay greater interest over the time that you pay those bonds off, but you receive more money up front to do construction projects. How do we have access to premium and how can we do those things? The number one reason is because we're very conservative when we budget how we're going to make payments on a cash flow perspective. If you go back to last year around this time, you were considering putting an issue on the ballot. You did that in January. We've got 100 days from the deadline to call the election before it's legal in Missouri to issue that. So we've got to have that election pass. We've got to call that election 10 weeks before it passes. Then we've got 30 days where we can't issue those bonds while we have a period where we wait to see if anybody protests that election for whatever reason. State law, the state auditor won't register those bonds. And because of that 100-day window, we're very conservative when we look at rates that you might receive on those bonds. Just to give you a matter of perspective, in April of 2014, we saw interest rates in a single day go up 0.84%. So almost an entire percent. So we have to be very conservative. We have to make sure that you have the cash flows and the ability to make those payments. So we start off from a conservative mindset. You had a nice sale in the spring of your first round of bonds. Rates came in lower than what we thought, and rates have even dropped a little bit since then. So you are all in a position to pay that higher stated rate of interest on that dedicated debt service fund. Those dollars can be used for nothing other than paying bricks and mortar debt. So just to be clear, that revenue that comes in can only be used to do that, and then this would get you some additional capital. If we were in the market today, that would get you about another $1 million on top of the 11.295 that you've got left to issue. So total money that has gone into project fund accounts for you to do building projects is going to be, if we were in the market today, about $43.5 million. And that's before interest and everything else that you've earned. And again, we're just trying to get you in a position where you can get as many of those projects addressed and worked on as quickly as you can. Just a couple things on where the market would be at today. Your true interest cost on this bond issue would be about 4.2%. Your bond yield would be at about 3.7%. What does that mean? True interest cost just means it's essentially what we call yield to worst. If you never refinance these bonds at any point in the future, that's what you'd end up paying over time. Your bond yield is closer to what would happen if you're able to refinance these bonds in the future and save some money on those. So somewhere between 3.7 and 4.2% is where we think you'd be. And again, I mentioned that 43.5-ish type $1 million for construction. So exciting times. I know you got a lot of exciting projects, but as everybody does, there's more projects and more need than there are monies available. So we're going to try to help maximize that money for you. And like I said, the plan would be back with a more concrete set of numbers. I know you've got a set of numbers sitting there in front of you in January that would line out those premiums for you. And we'll talk about why we've structured it the way we have and why we've slotted the principal where we have. Largely, again, because you have that Fund 3, we want to look at that as one common plan of finance. That is essentially your mortgage. So even though there's not principal slated for this particular issue for a couple of years, you are amortizing a lot of principal on existing debt that you have, largely in the middle school at this point. But you are paying down principal every year in that fund, and this allows you to do that at a no tax rate increase. So I just wanted to provide you that update and give you the opportunity to ask questions or provide any data for you next month that you may want to see.
All right.
That's good.
Any questions? Thanks, Joe.
All right. Thanks, folks. Good to see you. See you next month. Thank you.
All right. High school construction update. Is that Christie?
Yeah.
For Dan? Adam, I should say? Okay. Gotcha. And Christie? Yeah.
No hiding in the hallway, Chris.
Okay. All right.
Hello, sorry.
So last several months, we've been working with SAP, Branco, and Dr. O'Quinn and her team at the high school to develop a plan for the high school. The plan would be to put this out for bid in January. We'll bring the bids to you. We'll get them back in late February maybe, so we'll bring them to you either February or March for the actual construction costs. But tonight, we wanted to show you kind of some of the renderings where we're at. So I will let Christy take it from there.
Okay, thanks again. This has been really exciting. We've been like kind of chomping at the bit, kind of wanting to show you the direction that we're going. We have the advantage of working with a construction manager on this project. So that means every time we move forward, they price it out, and then we take a couple steps back, and so we're constantly aligning. So what you're seeing tonight, we're a little bit further along than what you're seeing, but basically, this is the concept for, I'm in charge.
Yep.
This is your existing floor plan. We just talked about the demolition component here. I'm going to indicate over here. This red line here, that's your demolition area. So that's what's going to be taken out and then sealed up with your demolition package that you just approved tonight. And this diagram actually is kind of helpful for any time you hear us talking about the opportunities that this building brings us, is that these are your levels. So you have the Donnelly wing and the Donnelly gym level. You've got car wing level, which we've identified that. We have the west wing level, that's the new addition. And then the main floor level, that's where your new front door and lobby will be. That's also where your old front door and lobby will be. That's the cafeteria level. So we like to show that just to orient folks when you see the building. The floor plan for the facility does include your 20 classrooms. But in addition to that, we have collaboration areas so that these academies can function fully as an academy space. We have the new addition right off of the new common space. And then we have the renovation of 5 of the existing spaces within the old science wing. We do have ramps that connect. We call this the connector, the piece that goes from the new addition down to the car gym level. And then we've got staircases inside the new addition to get up to the second level. From the second level, we have the research lab right off of the main stair, off of a collaboration area. What you are seeing in green represents a science classroom or a science type of classroom. They may be bio-STEM, they may be AP, and then of course our art rooms as well. We have media broadcasting. I'm sorry, it's labeled as science, but it's media broadcasting is actually art. So we will also have general classrooms in this space and teacher instructional collaboration spaces built into. This is your existing entrance. It served you well and served you for a long time, well past its life. So we get to say goodbye to that one, and this is what we're proposing for the new entrance. As you come down Bryce Street headed towards the west, this would be your view of the main entrance. The building has obviously a 2-story volume on it, and it does have a step in the floor plan, which was really important to us because this site drops off quite a bit. So we were trying to make up some of that grade by actually stepping the structure. That helped us connect also to your existing car gym and then on to Boswell Gym, which will someday be a very important avenue to the rest of your building as we start to create this kind of internal loop through your building, through your master plan. What you're seeing on the right-hand side represents Donnelly Gym. We've got some options to look at that, but right now, base bid does not include any work on that. We're going to continue to explore that with Branco to see what our possibilities will be. And then this is from looking northeast from the west, so that is the Crestview building, and then the science classrooms right there. And this is what this end of the building would start to look like. So you can see we do have windows, quite a bit of windows on this project, but we've raised it up off the ground. But that was really important to us to maintain that safety and security. And then your upper floor classrooms overlooking the south parking lot. From inside, this would be your vestibule view. So as you come in those front doors, similar to where you came in on the current building, to your left would be the new reception desk, and then moving through into the common lobby space. If you were to stand up on top of those stairs, this space here is actually the cafeteria doors. So once we get to the cafeteria, we're not doing any work in there in the basement. This is the ramp that's there now, and then this is the new common space. It'll be 2-story up in volume. And then this is just an example of some of those collaboration areas. We have that middle stair, we call this the gallery stair. As you come up that gallery stair, we have a wall graphic behind the stair at the landing. And then this space opens up, and this is some of the windows that you saw down into the parking lot area with a collaboration board and then some study spaces off of it.
Do you mean a literal stair?
Yep, real stairs.
And is there a ramp too, or how do you make that accessible?
An elevator. That's it. Yeah.
Looks great.
It does.
Okay.
So as the design work continues, there will be more of a fly through where you get a sense of the interior. And I've seen it, just a small part of it. I haven't gone through the entirety of it. Because it's still in the works, getting done and aligned with budget. If you like this, it's gonna blow, it's remarkable. Hard to believe that we would have something of that caliber in our community. It's pretty remarkable, pretty exciting.
We'll get a chance to maybe see that in January.
You will.
Awesome.
Yep, that's the presentation in January.
I look forward to that.
It's really important for us, when we sat down with the district, at the very beginning, we do a kickoff meeting with your team. And the first thing we ask is, what are your goals and your concerns and your priorities? And one of the top priorities was on budget and on time. So I hold that as a mantra in my mind. So as we're going through this, we're designers, I can design to any budget, and I want to make sure I hit your budget because it's really important. So that's some of our kind of back and forth with your construction manager, is making sure that we're able to achieve that, and I don't want to overpromise. So that's something that I think.
We'll do our best not to hold you back either.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be great.
We're excited to see those things kind of finalized, because we'll be closer to bid time. We'll have things ironed out, and we'll know exactly where we are and be able to see more imagery that is like what it will be.
Yes, yeah, more of what will be in the actual bid documents.
Awesome. Any questions for Christy?
It's exciting, yeah.
Really excited about it. It's awesome. Thank you for all the work.
Yeah, you bet. It's been fantastic work with your team.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coach Christian, fall activities report. Hey, Coach.
Guys, how are you? All right, we'll get right to this. Another opportunity to celebrate our great programs, great kids, great coaches, great parents, and a successful fall. We'll begin with our boys and girls cross-country team. Kind of the same format as always. I'm going to go pretty quickly through this. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me midstream or at the end, and I'll be happy to discuss and talk about. I'm also not going to read everything just for the sake of time. I know you all already have a long evening and much more to do. So you can kind of see the success. One of the things that I want to highlight is our young lady, Abigail Tagg, who was a state qualifier. She also placed in several meets. As a group, I think that we were highly successful. I know you all recognized our junior high group that is coming at a previous meeting, so you know that there's some talent coming in our middle school as well, and our high school group had a really nice year, so we're excited about them, current and in the future. Moving on now to our boys swimming program, a program that honestly coming in, Coach Kreff thought might be a little bit of a rebuild. Well, we were very pleased when we had several that qualified for state, kind of in a year that we really honestly didn't expect that would occur. You can see there with Ben Nelson and Eli Havens, and then we had that relay team as well that qualified. I'm so proud of our swim programs, both our boys and our girls, for the success that they've had and how quickly they've had that success. And certainly it stems more so than just our high school program to the parents who have made commitments to those kids in the development throughout, but certainly extended into the high school and the success that they've had. Now moving on to our volleyball program, and I think I've said this probably for now 20 years. I have been here 20 years, hard to believe that you all kept me that long. But this program, year after year, wins. And I think sometimes we often maybe even take it for granted. This year, 24 wins, which Coach Collins, this marks one of the top 10 seasons in the program's history, a very rich history. So we're very excited about their season. They placed well in tournaments as well. You can see some of the individual honors, and I don't know if she's still here. She is still here. So I wasn't planning on talking about anybody tonight, which, by the way, segue into that. I will have individuals next time, as I'm able to get that done for tonight. But we do have Addie Redmond here. So if you guys could give her a big hand. Addie was All-State when I produced this document to be reviewed. That was not determined yet, but she achieved All-State status in the sport of volleyball. First time, I want to say, in like 10 to 15 years. And so humongous honor for her. And so we're super proud of her and her accomplishments in that. So very successful volleyball program. And we're very excited. And also I need to mention, and we're going to be recognizing at a basketball game upcoming, but Jenny Collins achieved her 200th win here at Lebanon, which is also an outstanding achievement. She has done a tremendous job here, was a tremendous hire, and I certainly can't take credit for that. I think there's some family members that certainly were pretty important in getting her here. And so we're very blessed to have her. So now we'll move on to our boys soccer program, a program that I think the board has had an opportunity to get to know a lot through getting to know Matt and the different things that we're doing to work on their program, their facilities. Matt, I think, is doing a tremendous job developing a program, and it starts from the ground. And certainly they're doing things right now to reconstruct their youth program, which I think is pivotal. And working really hard. And one of the things that I'm most proud of with this program is they represent us the right way, and they play super hard. You go and watch our boys soccer program. They're doing things the right way, and they're playing really hard, and we really can't ask more than that. You can see also some of their individual honors as well listed there. Moving on to our girls tennis program, and our future Hall of Fame tennis coach, Ron Kroll, does an incredible job with this group. As has been well noted, I've noted that several times. They did a really nice job, but I think tonight we're going to, one more time, take an opportunity to magnify the achievements of Olivia McGruder, who achieved state medalist honors in the sport of tennis at Lebanon for the first time in our school's history. The magnitude of that is gigantic. And so we're so proud of her, the commitment that her family has made to her achievements. We were able to recognize her and her family at a football game. And just really honestly, one of the most historic events in our athletics history took place this year. Also, one thing I want to mention about her individually, she won 35 matches, which is second all time in Michigan history. And so that also is just unbelievable achievement for her and the tennis program. I know Coach Kroll is probably still smiling wherever he's at right now as he thinks about that. So next program is our girls softball program, which super pumped that we were able to hire Kenyon Breedlove. Kenyon, I think, is just an absolute home run of a hire. So proud of the job that he did in developing, and that's really what they're doing right now. They're in the grassroots, the beginning part of his program, and I'm excited to see the direction that he's going to take that. And you can get an opportunity to see some of the honors listed there as well from a relatively young team with a bright future. Moving on next to our girls golf program, and this program continues to grow. Lindsay Darnell does an outstanding job of getting participation, getting kids interested, and kids even that one of the things that impresses me about this program is some kids that haven't played a lot of golf that get introduced to it, and they are developing them in the program. And so super proud of that. Alexis Hapner, as you can see, achieved all COC honors, which is very challenging in this sport. So we're super proud of her. And this group is a growing group. Moving on to our next group, our football program, a program at which this year we started slow, 1-4. Adversity that I think the program we all needed, very valuable adversity that honestly, I could have told you probably was going to occur. And I felt that the growth was something that we definitely were able to use and are still using right now as we analyze and assess different things from our season. A successful season, though, as we still were able to pull it together and make the district championship game, which essentially is the Sweet 16 in MSHA playoffs. And so we're very proud of that. We have another Redmond here tonight also, I can see, so I'm going to recognize him. Jake Redmond, give him a hand. Jake, the best part about Jake, he's a junior. So that's the best part about Jake. But he played guard for us. He was a second team all-conference guard, which earning all-conference honors this year were unbelievably difficult. And so super proud of him for achieving that. And along with the rest of our guys, you can kind of look through the list there of football honors. Now we'll move on to our pride, the marching band. Another tremendous season for them, year in, year out, much like our volleyball program that I talk about. I think we take for granted sometimes that this group is just going to do tremendous, and they did once again. You can see the honors that they achieved at their 3 band competitions, just kind of as a review. I hit band more than once when I do these reviews for you all. This first one is the marching band component. We'll go through the individual music MSHA stuff at some of the later ones. And so with this, you can see what they accomplished and highlighted by their final one in Carthage, which again, they kind of just swept everything. It's just kind of a norm. They almost should change the name of the event from Maple Leaf to Yellow Jacket Festival, because we dominate that. Now we move on to our GPA data, and a lot of this stuff is similar, repetitive, but important because it shows the successes that our kids are achieving in the classroom, which is really what this is all about. You can see our fall GPAs. This is cumulative and from each member of each of these squads. And then you can move on to our high school participation data. This is our fall participation data. One of the things that we added last year was the overall activities participation data. So you might see 32% and say, well, gosh, that looks like that declined. Well, when we do it only with the fall, that's about the number. So it's about the same or about the right number. So when we add the winter sport only folks, and we add the spring only sport folks and activity folks, then that number will shoot back up to about the norm. We'll probably be somewhere in the low 60s, which is kind of a consistent number here. Moving on to our next page here. Fingers don't want to work. Our middle school participation data, even though this isn't technically a middle school review, I do throw this in here just to kind of give you a snapshot. I don't include band on this because it is a little bit different in the middle school. And so if we added that, it would be a lot because we've got quite a few middle school band members as well, but they don't do the marching aspect. So that's the reason that's not in here. The attendance data, which, we always put this in here again, just as a measuring stick of the fact that the kids that are engaged come more. Even though the statistics aren't drastically different, it's a little, and I'll take a little. So that's important. Next is our GPA data to kind of look at folks that are engaged in an activity versus not, to again show that they do excel a little bit better in the classroom when they do have something else. Next is our college signees part. This was as of December 4th, and then we had an ad that I have written in here, so I'll announce, and that's Noah Anderson. He signed with a training program. It's a player development school in Nashville, Tennessee for soccer. And so we're very excited for Noah and his future in soccer in that sport, along with all of the rest of the ones that are listed there. And we'll have more that will be signing soon. And just to plug Addie one more time, since she's in here, she signed with State University, which is awesome for volleyball. So we're excited for her. And then our all-state athletes year to date, of course, Olivia, which I already highlighted, Addie, I already highlighted as well. The sport of football has not been decided yet. That meeting is in 2 more weeks. And of course, we'll have more as the year goes on. I always include this championship count year to date. This is how our teams have fared at this point with the different deals with conference, district, state, individual, winning seasons, and state qualifiers year to date. Then the next page is an ad from last year, and this is opportunities for improvement for our department, myself primarily, items that are important. Street development within the block schedule format is something that's front and center right now as we battle getting our kids to make sure that we meet a COC standard in that realm. Recruiting and retaining quality coaches is always front and center, and that's a daily thing through mentorship, through relationship building, through training. We want to keep quality coaches. We want to take care of them. And so it's my job to serve them and help them in that realm. Culture of specialization is always a battle. We are always battling, trying to get kids involved in more stuff, not putting all their eggs in one basket, and to experience more, because ultimately the experience at this level is what they're going to remember the most. You talk to any college or professional athletes, and I've never had one tell me that what they did after was better than what they did here. And so we want to get them engaged. And then care and maintenance for our facilities is very, very important, that we do a good job of taking care of and improving in those areas. Then the last part in here, again, was another ad from last year that I'm going to keep in here. And that's just a constant reminder, and I remind our coaches constantly as well. Activities are not about championships. They're not about college scholarships. They're not about any of that stuff. They're about all of the life lessons that our students are able to learn through their experience and all of them. And so that really needs to be our priority and focus. So with that being said, I went very quickly. I can answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Good work.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
You guys.
Course scheduling, book, high school and LTCC.
Hello. So it's that time of year already where we're talking about course proposals, and I've asked Dr. Quinn and Dr. Wilkerson to join me just because really honestly, I help facilitate the process, but we really work in collaboration with the future focus and the scheduling and courses at the high school, so they're up here to help with that. So basically we have a process. Last year we really overhauled our process and we're still trying to hone it, but there are steps that folks need to go through. First of all, they have to get permission from their department head and their administrator, and then they complete some paperwork from us for us to talk about what their course is going to be like, how it aligns to the vision and mission of the district, the building improvement plan, our district improvement plan, and then they're invited in to present their course proposal to a panel, which includes myself, department head, Dr. Quinn, Dr. Wilkerson, and then we have a rubric in which we score them on, and then after that process, we present them to you. So we currently this year have 4 proposals. Those include, they're only at the high school this year. Last year we had some LTCC courses, but this year's just the high school. Everyday chemistry, history of American cinema, learn to drive, and music in our world. All of these courses there were actually 6 courses that we interviewed. Only 4 are coming to proposal this year. And so
Just learn to drive like driver's ed.
Oh, I knew I was gonna get that. So, okay, so I guess I should also say disclaimer, this is how the course titles were presented. We may have to tweak that a little bit because we had that same conversation with, this actually is not having kids behind the wheel of a car learning to drive. It's actually preparing them to take the driver's examination.
The written portion, to be able to get the permit.
And you wanted to speak to that a little bit?
I can. So the proposal is essentially to build some background knowledge for students to be able to take the permit test, which serves them in multiple ways. One, it gets them further down the road in that, no pun intended. But it gets them further down the road, but it also start providing them with actual photo ID when they start doing that. So then they start to actually get them government issued photo ID for as they move forward, which helps in other areas of their life as well. And so it'll help them begin to go through that booklet or whatever that they have to go through. And the teacher that's going to be doing this also does the summer school driving course. So then it can also become a starting place for summer school enrollments as well.
Long?
It'd be a semester.
Mhm.
It'd be a semester.
Yeah. And everything except for the everyday chemistry, all three of those other courses are elective credit. The everyday chemistry is a science credit, it's a half a science credit. And it's really, honestly, when you have in your course book like physics, chemistry, some of those hard sciences, a lot of times kids shy away from that, even though they could potentially have an interest just because they're, thought of as very difficult, rigorous, courses for college-bound science majors. But really, honestly, Jerica Adams presented this course, and I'm super excited because I'm kind of a science nerd anyway. But I think it's just going to allow more students kind of an entry-level exploratory way, entry point into chemistry and physics through some everyday experiences, even talking about how it ties to agriculture, how it ties to construction, how it ties to food chemistry. So we're excited about that as well. Other questions specifically about those courses?
How does this balance, like, I know scheduling at the high school is just generally a nightmare for every high school across America, just because of all the course offerings and credits and all the students.
Mhm.
So, like, if we're adding 4 classes, then what, are we adding teachers? Are teachers giving up their planned periods? Are we doing away with some courses?
So every year when we go through our scheduling handbook, we take a look at what has typically filled, what hasn't. So over time, even though we bring courses to you, if they haven't made for a while, we'll pull them out of the scheduling handbook and just kind of have them ready if we need to add them back because student interest has changed, because it does fluctuate. What we are oftentimes struggling to do is have enough elective courses to place all of our students effectively. What we don't want to do is put a kid in a class that they haven't requested, but we also become limited on how many courses are available every hour for every grade level. So making sure that we have a nice sampling, if you will, of both core and elective classes to be able to schedule them. So as far as like adding additional courses, we do request to add some courses because we're trying to work like what are students really wanting to do? What are some things that would be supportive of other classes down the road? But then we also do pull some of those from the scheduling handbook from year to year that haven't made, continuously don't make. And then we'll have them available if needed. Does that help answer your question?
So adding won't make the freshman English classes bigger? Or
No.
So
it's a matter of balancing. The number of teachers we have are the number of teachers we have. The number of students that we have are the number of students that we have. Our job, our task, and our challenge is often to balance the schedule from first block to fourth block every single day with enough grade level relevant classes that students can take.
Yeah.
And so that's where that balancing act comes from. And that was one of the things that we really strongly analyzed this year whenever we had our course proposals was what grade levels are they offered to? Because a lot of times we'll get really great core or elective classes that are for upper level. So then we're limited on how many electives freshmen can take or sophomores can take. And so we really analyzed that. We've talked about even some of these are actually going to go on a rotation. And so they may be offered this year if it's a year-long class, and then the next year it feeds into this class and it'll just be offered on a rotation. Others will be semester followed by another year of a different set of classes being offered. It just provides us flexibility.
Sure.
So.
Are we still thinking that block scheduling is the way to go, the most effective way to schedule at our high school?
I think that you could make an argument for every type of schedule out there. I actually put together COC data today based on schedules. And it's split between those that do a 7-day, those that do a 4-block, those that do an 8-block, those that do a modified. I had a COC meeting with the principals last month, and they talked about who was in a 7-block, who was in a modified, who's switching to a block schedule, who's in a block schedule, switching to a different block schedule. I think that we're sitting in the same position as everybody else, which is we want to do what's best for our kids. And a lot of that depends on what is the overall big picture 5-10-year plan for the district, right?
This may not be the place for it, so if we need a table and we talk about it later, it's fine, but is that at all playing into that early graduation number?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do our kids have free time? Is that what?
They don't have free time. We added a block.
Yeah.
So they have 1 block extra than what they used to have, which means that they can earn 1 full credit more a year.
So when you calculate that over the course of 4 years, with 26.5 credits required, they can earn 32. Then you compound that with summer, then you've really exceeded. And that's why the conversation will have to continue about how do we create experiences and or expectations that can, that the kids can be engaged in, that's relevant. Otherwise, the early graduate will just explode and continue to do that. And so that's what we're trying to manage.
We're not the only district that sits in that position. I mean, the other districts that have moved to an 8 are having the same conversations. So, yeah. And a lot of it is each district has to make a decision on their schedule that best supports programming and things like that. I would venture to guess that if we polled our faculty would even be split. Some classes are far more conducive to a block schedule and some are far more conducive to a shorter block of time where they see their kids every day. We are having some conversations within the COC about those that are, thrown in a skinny block, and that just gets even more chaotic with the whole chaos that she was referring to. But it is not outside the realm of possibility to be even more flexible than what we're attempting to do. Not that we're going that route, but we are listening and looking, so.
Early graduation is a problem, but while they're graduating. At least we are.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I know it's a problem that still, you're graduating.
And it's a fair question, and it's one that was raised when we moved to a block schedule, and it's one that we talk about every single year. We're looking at data, we're constantly looking at data, and we just want to make the best decision for what's best for our kids. So.
And I think it's important from an expectation standpoint that, and I would agree with you, graduation rate matters, but there have been generation after generation of kids who graduate and wander aimlessly. We want to make sure we're not just getting them 26.5 credits. When we say we want them to have a clear plan for their future, mission, vision, alignment, we want to make sure that we just aren't putting 119 kids out early when they don't have a structured plan and they haven't had adequate experiences. Yeah, because then they may or may not go to college and they wander. We have the most nurturing learning experiential environment they're going to have all their life. I mean, we know colleges are not that with rarity, and Coach Christian talked about kids in college athletics, that there's nothing that matches this environment. And that's the hard part, but we don't want to hold people back. I mean, all of that is rooted in flexibility and making sure individual personalized learning experiences happen. We just have to manufacture what are those authentic, valid learning experiences, because it is just fundamentally different. They don't need us to get credit anymore.
Yeah, right. And not to jump back to the former presentation about that, but just for some clarity, like when we started to talk about our numbers and how they were bigger, I wanted to dig into the data. I wanted to know exactly how many of them are at risk, how many of them are graduating early because of summer school, I wanted to know the ins and the outs of all of it. So as we continue, we have a really great baseline of data that we're gonna run on all of our early grads, so that we can continue to see that. And you'll start to see us drill down even further on the MBAs and the college credits. That's one I didn't get to, I just didn't have time. I want to know how many of those kids that are graduating early are graduating with college credit and are getting ready to walk right into a college in January. And that's the other one, is we're starting to collect how many of those kids that are graduating in December are going straight into the military, straight into the workforce, or straight into college. We just didn't have time to get all that before tonight. But we're looking at it because it's important for us. And it also drives what are our course offerings, what are we providing? It drives everything that we do.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see here in a few years what those 100 kids that got out early really did.
There's
I
a,
would be remiss if I didn't say what I say every year for 10 years. You know, I worry about the quantity of our course offerings versus the quality. You know, I think it's great to add courses, but if we don't teach them well, if we don't have time for them, if they don't, the quality is what I am always concerned about, because like I said, variety is great, but if we don't do them well, that's always where I struggle with when we approve all these new courses every year is the quality is what I really struggle with.
Can I answer it?
Sure.
Okay. So I wholeheartedly agree, and I would think that probably every person in this room would agree with that. Since we have changed and shifted the course proposal process, these courses are being proposed by people that are knowledgeable of the content that they're proposing and honestly passionate. And those two things help us have confidence that what they're providing to us is going to be implemented well. So that's first and foremost, because that's a huge priority for me. As far as like the number, it's true, having 900 electives, we don't have that many, but as an example, the more we have, the harder it is for us to schedule, because when these guys go into schedule, 10 of them may want this one and 10 of them may want this one, but that splits because the same teacher teaches that and neither of those classes make. So then we have to go back to the drawing board and have conversations with those students again. So that is something that we constantly have conversation about, which is why some of these that we're proposing, we're putting on a rotation. So instead of it being 40 courses, it's actually just 2 because they're going on rotation.
Yeah.
So we very much hear that question. We know that you ask it every year. We ask it too. It truly is something that we have to think about. And so that's why we've really tried to tweak that process. And Tracy's been fantastic of thinking how we can do that differently and challenging us to have those conversations too.
I just think of those poor students who get in these new courses and they are excited and then it's just.
The fun thing was this year they already came with a syllabus ready to go.
So that's good.
Yeah. If you want to see what I'm going to send home, this is, so. Yeah.
We won't rabbit trail you too much. We'll let Dr. Evans, Dr.
You're
I
promoting
already
me.
presented-
I appreciate that. Figure that out. Any other questions? Okay, wonderful, thank you. I'm up here for a while, so means I gotta go quick on the next couple.
Yeah, your next one.
Okay, so we're gonna be talking about our CSIP goal 1.1. Oh, Kim's here. Kim's coming.
Let's go next screen.
Yeah, 1.1.2, which is facilitate ongoing curriculum systems. I think it's pretty small. I don't know if it's really- Okay, so, well, maybe that'll make it even go faster. So basically, I feel like we have a lot to celebrate, and I'm not usually one to toot my own horn, but I mean, it is kind of my job, curriculum, and this is curriculum systems, and so we've worked really hard over the last few years, and having it be an actual goal and strategy in our CSIP brings more focus to it. So things that you see that are already in green, we have an ongoing cycle. That is pretty solid. We're in our second year, of really working that with our core content areas. We have our curriculum published on our district website, which is a huge celebration. And we definitely are utilizing our curriculum council to make sure that we have that evaluation process is including stakeholders. So those are our green areas. The areas where we still have a little bit of work to do, one is developing and implementing a communication plan. We've actually developed a plan. It's just we're working on the implementation pieces, the funding as far as our resources, as far as funding, time, personnel. Dr. Schrage, myself, Dr. Smits, and Mr. Dameron are continually talking about what that looks like and how we can make sure that our teachers and students have what they need curricularly. And the other thing is a curriculum management plan, which I'm in the works of developing. It'll be completed by the end of the year, but that's just really going to help with continuous improvement and having a written plan on how we are taking our core contents through the curriculum process. So those are just some areas where we're still working. Action item really 8, I went ahead and marked yellow because this is something that I'm doing with the curriculum teams as we go through that evaluation process, is creating an instructional framework So right now we have one for social studies, which we're working through that process, and that's my next presentation. But we also, I just presented to our science curriculum council, we'll have one for science as well. So just as we are working our core contents through the cycle, they're producing an instructional framework, which is basically it'll be on our website. It's basically a document that talks about the core beliefs around teaching and learning in that content area, and then how instruction is delivered. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Questions? Okay, great. Thanks, Kim.
More.
I tell you what, she does more than you might know, because she's my little personal cheerleader and all that. Okay, so feeding right into our curriculum process, I'm going to give you a quick curriculum update. This is specifically around our core content that's in year 5, which is social studies. But this is just a review of our 5-year cycle. And social studies is the big year this year. So last year, at the end of the year, we surveyed all of our teachers that teach social studies in the district, and we asked them, based on your current curriculum and the instructional resources you have, what do you feel like needs to happen with our curriculum? Do you think we don't need any changes to what we're doing? Some small changes, significant changes, or do we just need to throw it all out and start over? And so this information was brought to the social, I keep pointing over here because I have Miss Kershaw in the audience and she's on my team. So this information was presented to the curriculum council. As you can see, a large number of our staff said we either need small revisions or some significant revisions to what we're teaching, what we have to teach kids social studies. So then these graphs were actually brought to, these were questions to our specific council, because they're the main body of teachers that's guiding the work. And we said, hey, well, we have this data. What do you want to do? Do you want to write our own curriculum, which is the left top graph? 92% said, I don't think so. We love you, Tracy, but we really don't want to spend that much time with you to have to write our own. Then we said, well, do you want just to look for some supplemental resources, which is the graph to your right? 69% said, yeah, we think we just need some small pieces to add in, not an entire new curricular resource. And then the last question was, do you want to look at a total comprehensive purchase, which was 53%. And I have more data because we drilled down and we looked at by grade level and all of that. So basically, after that, we've decided, well, you know what? We have a need for supplemental resources. We have a few people who are wanting a more comprehensive approach, so we need to vet, basically. We brought in the council. We have a rubric. We looked at 4 or 5 resources for each grade level around these 4 criteria. We know that social studies needs to be inquiry-based. That's what the research says. We want it to be aligned to standards. We want it to have quality assessments, primary and secondary sources, all of the things that our social studies teachers know a curriculum would need to have, or instructional materials. So we determined that the grade level, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, and our courses at the high school, they're just really looking for supplemental pieces. The grade levels that want more of a full comprehensive resource is 3rd grade, because it's specifically Missouri history, which is really hard for our teachers to try to pull all of the pieces to really give our kids a good foundation around all things Missouri. And there are a couple of resources that have that already done. Then our middle school grade levels actually felt like they needed some more comprehensive materials. So we've been working with their PLCs to determine what lessons they're going to pilot. We have a timeline that's getting ready to be shared with staff. This is all going to start to feel very familiar for the board, because here we are with ELA kind of all over again. So we're going to make sure our teachers get some training. We're going to be piloting some materials. We'll be getting feedback from teachers and communicating to parents. Those grade levels, I'm just going to go back real quick. I'm probably over time. Those supplemental grade levels, K1, 2, 4, 5, and high school, that's not going to look like a pilot like the ELA pilot. This isn't gonna be like as extensive for those grade levels, because they're just looking for pieces to pull in to support what they already have. The biggest lift is gonna be for third grade, sixth, seventh, and eighth. Okay, I think I'm done. We definitely need to celebrate, but what other questions do you guys have for me?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, trying to make up some ground.
All right, brings us to finance operations update.
Weren't sure you'd have enough finance for the night.
One more.
Want to give you one more presentation.
Could you sing and dance or?
So, all right, so we'll talk about operating fund revenue. Operating fund revenue for the year so far is down $2.4 million. Again, like we mentioned each month, that's primarily because of the SO3 funds we received last year. So overall, we're right about where we thought we'd be on revenue. Our Prop C funds are up $111,000 over last year, and basic formula is up $114,000 last year. Operating expenditures are down a little over $4 million. The biggest part of that is the two construction projects we had last year, Boswell FEMA and Early Childhood Center, that both came out of operating funds. So when you take those off, we're right about where we were expecting to be on budget. Through November, our operating fund balance is at 11.85%. That's down from the two prior years, again, because of the spend down on the construction projects that we had. You'll see that tick back up in December. We'll start getting the tax money from the county. So we'll get that in December and January, and then that fund balance will go back up. So on operations, you've heard a lot about the bond projects tonight. As far as the budget, nothing's really changed. Just an update on the projects themselves at Maple Crest. They're getting most of the dirt work done. They're putting in the drains, and stormwater is going in. So here shortly, you'll start seeing the building actually come up out of the ground. So that's exciting. We're still final completion on that will be July 4th. And at Boswell, they're working on the footings. They did find a sewer line that goes right under the pad that was unmarked. It's an old sewer line from Mark Twain, but they've rerouted that now. So they're moving on that. We're still on pace to be done first part of August for that project. And then most of this information we've already presented at the high school during the high school update. The drawings, staff will present the drawings to the city on December 18th. We'll see the latest review of the drawings on December 19th here with SAP and Branco. And then at the board meeting in January, you'll see a fly-through of the building, and that will be exciting. It'll be a lot more detailed than what you saw tonight. And then we'll tentatively schedule to put that out for bid January 21st. And then with your approval tonight, they will start the demolition project here in a couple weeks. And then as far as innovative programming, these numbers have been updated to include another month of interest. So that interest number, the $777,000, is through the end of November. And then I've updated the anticipated premiums based on what Joe Kinder presented tonight. So as of right now, our anticipated amount available for innovative programming is $7.3 million. Any questions on that? Thank you.
All right, thanks, Larry. All right, that brings us to Dr. Smith.
Yes, so I wanted to give you an update on just the election. As you know, the filing opened up today on the April 8th election. And so we have two candidates. Thank you, Mr. McCallum and Mrs. Waterman, for putting your names down for that. And so that will remain open through the end of this month, December 31st. And I think it's important to just clarify that on December 31st, the office will be open from 3 to 5. So while the offices are closed, the opportunity to sign up will not be available. However, specifically, if a person is a late filer from 3 to 5 on December 31st is an opportunity. Public notice has been made, so people are aware. We've met all the statutory requirements to make sure people are aware of what's going on. So that election will be again on April 8th. And so as far as the January meeting, we talked about the major focus on capital projects that'll be upcoming. I want to remind you that also in January, the January meeting, we'll be setting the end of January staff review. And so that staff review is the one for those of you who will remember, it's a period of time when we go through and meet with building administrators and learn about any concerns or situations that they may need to have. And of course, we get that ball rolling. Also, January begins the budget process for the 26 budget cycle. So we are already beginning to get that going. We are. And so that concludes any updates I have.
All right. That brings us. We're right on track. Need a motion to move into closed session. First by Nicole.
I'll second.
Second by Aaron. All those in favor?
No, roll call.
For the purpose of,
For the purpose of.
you want to read the purpose.
Yeah. let me give my last one. All right. Motion to move into closed session for the purpose of legal action and consideration of personnel. Roll call vote.
Scott McCown.
Yes.
Charlie Darnell.
Yes.
Amy Waterman.
Yes.
Mary Hess.
Yes.
Nicole Walters.
Yes.
Mary Russell.
Yes.
Lauren Jackson.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we know.